on such a short notice, and I'm glad we caught you while you were in New York.
Yeah.
And that's really good. And I'm welcome to MNN. And in the audience, welcome very, very much to Conversations. We have as our guest segment Phil Lindsey, and he's the founder and producer of a very interesting movement or an organizational effort and so forth called Mystic Garden Party Festivals. He's also the executive director of an entity called Global Events Network. He's involved with music and other matters of spiritual concern. And he's in from Los Angeles area. And Phil, welcome very much coming in on such short notice. And a great pleasure.
Yeah.
We're going to show very early on in this program a clip from your website.
Yeah.
But I wonder if maybe you could just briefly, in about a 3 or 4 minute way, share your background, born and raised, a little of your education, and then we're going to segue right into your
Sure.
video. But could you share your background, please?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Southern California, and I just about graduated college. I was in computer science, but I was a little bit, not very happy with our culture, our society, and I just felt like, it seems like environmentally and so forth, we're on an unsustainable path. And
I know the feeling well.
You know the feeling
Yeah,
well, and I felt, gosh, I felt a little powerless, like it's a big world out there. And I asked myself, if I had an ability to cause and effect, what would it be? And in '86, there was the Live Aid concerts.
Very, very successful, yeah.
Yeah, it raised millions of support for Africa and who's who in music and musicians. I realized the kind of cultural impact that musicians can have to inspire and uplift people and motivate people to do something.
No doubt about it.
So I had these visions about having globally synchronized events back then, and I started putting on benefits around that time. And,
80, would you say
that
what?
was 87, 88.
87, that's right, I remember,
about 22 years now.
Yeah,
so.
right.
And then, so I've, over the years, done hundreds of benefit events and different kinds of events, and it's evolved into now we're producing these festivals called Mystic Garden Party, which we want to take around the world. It's a certain kind of an experience.
Very.
Inspired music and speakers, workshops, yoga, healing arts, so people get kind of activated. We're calling it a conscious activation festival.
Wonderful. That's really good. And it's also is that you do have a site, and we're going to want to almost right away show, because you have a clip on a site. Is it on your Mystic Garden site?
Yeah, on the mysticgardenparty.com site.
Yeah, the mysticgardenparty.com site, and there's a clip on there. And we want to get it in right at the beginning of the program, and then we'll come back and talk to some of these other matters.
Sounds
but
good.
Willie and fellas in the booth, if you could maybe bring up that clip that we're going to show. I guess it goes about 8 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So let's, while they get that set up, and see if they could run that and then pump it in here too so we could hear it. And we're talking again with Phil Lindsey, and we'll be coming back for more. But if you could run that clip off his website now, or if not, let us know if you're having trouble. We'll talk a little more until you, there we go.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Pump it in here if you can, fellas.
We were just watching this interview last night. Somebody was interviewing the Dalai Lama, and he was just saying, he just had a bunch of snippets of different conversations where he was saying, what does humanity need more of? And he pretty much just said, more festivals.
More festivals, yeah.
Shine, shine, don't be afraid, shine, 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 it's our time to shine, yeah.
Putting intention through a musical vibration, like there's nothing more that changes the human spirit more than that. I think that's the most powerful thing we can do.
Ancient technology.
Ancient technology, man.
Yeah.
I think what most inspires me about conscious music festivals is the connections that we make with people, friends and family, a place to gather. I always end up leaving inspired and feeling full again.
your mind and you might see the way it's expanding and contracting. Our thoughts and our actions is what we attract in. Life in our changes is all rearranges. Open up your mind and you might see the way it's expanding and contracting. Thoughts and our actions is what we attract in.
Making sure people come to an event and they leave with something tangible. They leave with not just an energy, not just an experience, but they leave with something. Even if it's having done a workshop, a meditation, or they leave with more love, more of an awareness of how they can actually change their life, or how they can take this way of life and have it become the everyday.
We all got to make it happen, so I appreciate that about the Mystic Garden Party. I like to see the art and the music and the activities and the workshops and all that kind of together in one place, and a synthesis of the, all kinds of music, so that people can come in here, anyone can come in here and be inspired by something. Without, they may come in here with 100 judgments about, visionary art or hippie music or something like that, but there's something in here that they're going to be able to connect with, and that's going to allow them to kind of break down some of those walls of judgments and stuff like that.
There's definitely a higher frequency happening at this event, and it's entertaining. It's the food. You go to the booths and you're getting in touch with superfoods, whether you're getting in touch with minerals and crystals. You have the opportunity to soak in mineral baths and hear great music and eat good food and be a part of conscious community and conversation awareness.
To me, it doesn't matter how much money you shell out. There's no amount of cash that could cause me to sell. I love saying what I feel. I'm never gonna risk it.
Mystic Garden Party is magical. It's festive. It's transcendent. It's unifying. It is everything we need a garden party to be in this day and age.
Freedom. Wanna talk about freedom. Wanna talk about freedom.
Just enough I feel like it's written in the stars.
Yeah, well, the Mystic Garden Party really, for me, it's family. It's really a family energy.
I'm going to get the healing angelic instrument for all of you. The medicine's coming.
Love like a fountain. I want to give it to the people that I meet. Love all about it. Gotta bring it down to the streets. Love like a fountain. I want to give it to the people that I meet.
I think it's really important to take the time to unify with our community and take the time to express ourselves and be bonded by good music, good vibes, good art, and good expression, because we're here to foster a healing movement throughout the planet, and it's only going to happen through the unity of our beings. Thank you.
I just hope that this momentum continues into the future, and this festival is an example to many other festivals of how to do it and keep it all heart space. Hopefully this can be a model for many other festivals to come. You know, it's a pioneering festival, I think.
Will we ever be free inside of you, inside and outside the great mystery inside of you? My cup held up to the sky, collect all the day gone by, the things to come, a tear in the angels I am. The stars bear down on my lone soul to the wind that in its travel has sung my face with holy grace. Lines like laughter, crying, na na na, free, yeah. Na na na, na na na, free, oh, free, oh, inside of you, inside.
Hey, that's really good, man. You put together a lot there. There's so much to talk about. I'm looking over your poster. I wonder if they can get themselves together in the control room. I'll hold it up here. We've got a poster, and it's the 3rd annual summer Mystic Garden Party, Thursday, Sunday, July 23rd through the 26th, 2009. It looks like this is where?
This one's in Ashland, Oregon. At the
Ashland, Oregon. Let me hold it up, and if you can come in on tight focus on this, you could show that. This is a thing you've got going. We're going to be talking in some depth about all the work you're doing, the things you're putting together. But this is one that he happened to show me, and this is in July. And you've already got that booked and everything and ready to go. Yeah, a lot of work putting it together.
Oh, it's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got dozens of musicians and artists and workshops with like Alex Gray and Dr. Masaru Emoto that was featured in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know?
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of other notables. Julia Butterfly Hill that was in the tree for 2 years, and Nikki Scully that also took Alex and Allison Gray to Egypt on that tour, and Agnes Pilgrim, she's considered a leader of the 13 Grandmothers.
Okay, these are things that I'm going to be learning about.
Yeah.
Very nice. Gray, I think I've seen him.
Alex Gray
Mirrors or something.
Did the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors.
Right. Yeah. But this is the thing, and then it's highlighting again the fact you're putting together these events. One remembers very well, I do remember, you're too young to remember Woodstock, which was one of the granddaddies of these kind of things.
Yep.
Back in '69. There's that, and then there's another one here. He got a little flyer thing he's got, and this is smaller, so you can come in on it. Maybe we could show it. And maybe you can come in on this, and I'm going to read. Maybe if you can come in in the studio. Excuse me, on this. I see you've got. I used to teach at the university at New Paltz, and I see on September 21st, very propitious time, if I may, in terms of my own reckoning of things, on September 21 of 2009 in the lovely town of Rosendale.
Yeah.
Rosendale is a little town between New Paltz, P-A-L-T-Z, also pronounced and spelled P-U-L-S-E. Put that into your mind. You might want to emphasize. You're also coming up to a very auspicious time of the year, September 21. But Rosendale's a town between New Paltz and Woodstock.
Yeah.
And that's a very nice little town. They got a saloon there called The Well that I would recommend to you and so forth. Anyway, this is just a personal aside. And then there are other events too. And this is the thing. You have some of the people that are going to be involved in that. And it goes from lodge, sweat, temple, and all this kind of thing. And we can perhaps talk about some of this. But I wanted to show this footage, these posters on top of the footage. And congratulations on, seems to me, very important and timely work that you've been engaged in for quite a long time now.
Yeah, thanks.
You're younger. You don't have thoughts. I brought up Woodstock.
Well, Woodstock, I wasn't there, obviously. I was a little young for that.
Yeah.
But I've seen some of the tapes, and I've been involved in that culture, even though a lot of people think it's gone. It hasn't gone. It's just sort of changed and morphed and evolved, and You know, there's still rainbow gatherings that happen every year.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And there's the Burning
Man in Nevada.
In Nevada.
That's sort of a thing. We didn't have any of that cyber stuff back in '69.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's, you know, there's different ways of people expressing their freedom and their inspiration and their creativity and getting out of the box of kind of consumer culture conditioning to, you know, free our heart and our spirit, you know. To express higher aspirations of what we as human beings are capable of. You know?
Absolutely, and the zeitgeist is an evolving thing, and things happen, and I'm here to explain to you, I think, I may be wrong and everything, but I believe that events are taking place at another level than the normally perceived everyday reality we see on the news and so forth. They're higher levels of the Vedics have been telling us everything is interconnected. So everything is interconnected, and things happen at a level transcended to the everyday. That is, there are events going on collectively in terms of the evolution of consciousness or something.
Yes.
And I'm here to say that I think there were some events going in out of the permutations of human activity, let's say, like war making or development of intellectual things, understanding spiritual developments, that made the Woodstock period a very crucial moment in the broader evolution of consciousness.
Yeah.
I think there's a case to be made for 1970 being seen like a kind of year one in terms of the evolution of broader events. And there you had Malcolm X, you had the Civil Rights Bill, they assassinated our president, or he was assassinated, Robert Kennedy was, Martin King was, at a Vietnam War raging, and then in the midst of all that, in August of 1969, they had the Woodstock Festival. And you had 600,000 people there. Mr. Rockefeller, Nelson Rockefeller, was our governor, and you had 600,000 people descend on August 15th on this White Lake, about 60 miles south of Woodstock.
Right.
And they declared it a disaster area because they had 600,000 people, of these people coming in from everywhere. And they said, well, how in the hell are you going to get food, and how is it going to work, and everything, and everything. They called it a disaster area, but it was just absolutely fantastic epiphany, and you had all the rock bands of the time there performing, the first of whom was my friend Richie Havens.
Right.
He was the first person to perform I was there, we were there, and from our group, we had I was a professor at the university there, and we went and we had a big red weather balloon. It was 8 feet across in diameter, and we filled it with helium, and we had it up in the air. And if you look at the album for Woodstock, I believe you can see above this huge multitude a little red dot, and that was our weather balloon that we had tethered to the ground, so the people from Woodstock and from Rosendale and from New Paltz would know where to gather amidst the multitude. So you can look for that if you want. But it was a major event. And it was signaling a major rend in consciousness that was characteristic of that time, and I think is being reborn now, maybe with the coming of Mr. Obama and so forth. A lot of green things in consciousness, spiritual concerns, are coming into a new flowering, and I would think you might be sensing the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I feel compelled to do what I do. It's faith beyond reason is one of the phrases I would have.
I like that. Yeah.
There's the phrase, faith is the substance of all things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. Sometimes you don't see in an ordinary way the convergence of other forces at work, But I believe that there is a lot of hopes and prayers for our change and our evolution, because we realize we have to. If we're going to be sustainable as a species, I mean, the Mother Earth will live on with or without us, but we represent some hopefully intelligent life, and it would be nice to see us continue on in a good way. And there's a lot of practices that are more greed-oriented that are not very sustainable or healthy for ourselves or our grandkids. And I think that part of what these festival gatherings represent is a hope for for us to be able to be inspired and motivated to change, to go
Right.
beyond business as usual.
Positively change.
Positive. You know,
Positive change, yeah.
We're not about blame and shame and humiliation. That's kind of an old paradigm.
Yeah, okay.
You know, these events are not, they're inclusive, they're not exclusive. You know, they're not sort of die-uppy scum kind of vibration. It's not about judgment. It's about, we're all in this together, you know, and
all of humanity.
all of
perhaps.
humanity,
Yeah, right.
you know, so they're...
And the creatures.
And the creatures,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
two-leggeds, the
ecology.
four-leggeds, the wingeds, yeah. So we have everyone from yoga teachers to a native elder from the 13 grandmothers, Agnes Pilgrim of the Grandma Aggie, we call her. She's been doing salmon ceremonies and water blessing ceremonies.
Sounds like Oregon to me.
That's in Oregon,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
right. So, and Dr. Emoto from Japan, he's coming out with his entourage, and we're going to do a global water blessing. And I guess part of our ultimate message is reverence for life. You know, we've been given this beautiful life. And
Isn't it amazing?
yeah.
Every day I want. It's a miracle that anything exists. I mean, everything
Right.
exists in such a wondrous variety and everything.
Yeah.
It's really something else. We don't take enough attention to that. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I say 1970 is that we have we're part. You're familiar with the Blip movie, right?
What the Bleep,
What
right,
the Bleep do
that
we
Dr.
know, and so
Emoto's
forth. And
featuring.
that's taking concern with things larger, you know, astrophysics and so forth, and quantum mechanics and physics and the broader thing. And we've been here, apparently, our species, 200,000 years. We all come from Africa, 10,000 generations, and we have a unique capability to be able, among the other creatures, to extend our consciousness into the environment through the use of technology or tools and make the world other than, in an Eden-like sense, seems to be the lot, for the most part, of the other creatures. They come upon things, but we do that. And now we've reached the point where we've reached such a point where that capability, first we evolved civilization and so forth, but a lot of that in the modern experience has been in the service of military capability to gain political power and advantage over another tribe other than the one supporting the research. And that's gotten to the point where we had a club, and then we had a bow and arrow, and then we had a blunderbuss, and then we had a rifle, and then we had a Gatling gun, and then we had a dreadnought, and then we had a special theory of relativity, 2.9.5. We get an atomic bomb, we get a hydrogen bomb, we get germ weapons. This thing with swine flu, or they don't want to call it that, but there is germ vectors that could be destructive. In a military sense, it could be used in that. Neutron bombs. But the point is, I think, and I'm not at all sure, I want to make sure, because I'll say it again, I'm saying it a lot lately, and maybe I'm wrong, but I do believe that we now have, if there was a miscalculation, as there's been throughout human experience, with one tribe fighting another or something, and the weapon systems that we have the capability, it gives us a capability. Apparently the weapon systems now, if they were unleashed, would be species lethal. That is, there would be no longer a single human being survive. Now, first of all, at one level, you can only model it. You can't test it to see if somebody survives in New Guinea or something. But I believe that's true, and that we couldn't do it in the Second World War, which is within our lifetime.
But now,
that recent, after 200,000 years. But I think
I've
we
heard over 30 times or something like. That's what I heard.
Okay, yeah, but this is at a level of popular, but it could be modeled, and they do model it. And we reached that point about 1970.
Yeah, what a waste
that's
of
energy. That's when the system. No, but it's an existential new reality in universe that wasn't characteristic of history.
Right.
You know, we could kill by the tens of millions. We did with bombs, firebombing, and so on. But we were, in a sense, impotent in the destructive capability.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So then, on the positive side, we have an equally existential, significant transformation in our capability to take care of all the ancient scourges, take care of everybody in a way that we haven't. History, James Joyce said, history is a nightmare from which I'm attempting to awaken.
Right.
Of injustice.
Right.
brutish and short and nasty for the most part. We spend most of our time running away from big cats that would eat us with alarming regularity. But we have a capability of providing for everybody that's equally existentially significant on the living side. And that line, there's some modeling of that, one of which was Fuller, Buckminster Fuller, someone you want to be in touch with, was one. And there were others that come off that we may have got to the point where our ability to provide for everybody in a way where there were actually more haves and have-nots on a scale about the year 1970. That's about when it happened. It was also about the time that cable television and advanced communications capability to making events like this get out over the media and so forth was coming.
Which is one of the exciting things for me, is that we, with our events, in 1986 when I saw Live Aid and I realized how they had, it was the largest viewing audience in human history. 1 billion people tuned in to watch Live Aid.
Wasn't that wonderful? Yeah.
Yeah, all
See,
that
you couldn't have
inspiration.
done that before you had satellites and stuff.
But now...
See what I'm trying to tell?
Yeah, and now, even since then, now we've got the internet.
Right.
And so now we are going to be able to webcast this event and invite people around the world to send their love and thanks to the water. This is... based on, when we say love and thanks to the water, Dr. Emoto in his book, Hidden Messages from Water.
I think I do know that,
Remember in the movie What the Bleep Do They Know, they're showing his exhibits where they find that, putting like love and gratitude on a bottle of water, when you freeze the water crystal right at the point of freezing, it creates a beautiful crystal.
Yeah.
And conversely, if you had a bottle of water with like hate on there, it would be a very ugly crystal. Or polluted water is unstructured, whereas water that has intention, because we can our thoughts, our energies, we affect matter, and especially in water, it's a very conductive source. I guess it really reflects the energy and the intention behind it, and so that's why we're doing the global water blessing. We're going to bless our waters, and we also come to the realization that we are 70% water ourselves.
That's true,
or more. And so how are we talking to ourselves and each other?
That's also about the planet. The water is about 70%. They're trying to tell us something out there in the universe, the creators of the universe.
Seems like it.
Yeah. Well, okay, it is, and so. Okay, good, yeah, and you're drawing upon some of the indigenous, shamanistic truths and that kind of thing.
Ancient wisdom and modern technologies to show, some light on what some of our potential is, how we can live in greater health and well-being and sustainable. Thinking of 7 generations. It's a
they do that in the indigenous. The American Indian people certainly think that, right? Yeah. Joseph, Chief Joseph, or who it was that said that about the 7 generations? It was the Iroquois. I don't know, but
it was more than one tribe.
It was a good idea.
It was a great idea.
No matter who came up with it, and we're drawing upon those. We've had those to draw upon throughout history and so forth. But there's something new going on, and in this particular time in which we speak, it's every day there comes a new revolution in understanding. 30 years ago, we didn't know the way the brain worked.
Right.
We didn't know that there were neurotransmitters. We didn't know, and every day now, just from science, let's say, a new revolution comes in over the transom from some field every day now in an exponential Niagara of understanding, which might be signaling a time for a new relationship in the cosmos for the evolutionary process.
A lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people are saying there's a quickening happening.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like
by
the end of a pregnancy.
2012, there's there could be some quantum shift happening in our consciousness, and more events like this, like Mystic Garden Party, the Global Events Network, where there's more communication and more inspiration being shared by more and more people, could help maybe trigger sort of a 100th monkey, if you know that phrase.
Yeah, I do.
Critical mass of, and you know the
and
story.
Rupert Sheldrake.
You know the story of the 100th monkey?
I don't know that. Rupert Sheldrake does morphic resonancy, and you can have a monkey in Africa learn how to open a coconut, and they pick it up in Australia somehow.
Right.
Rupert Sheldrake's out of sight.
And that's Joseph Campbell. Talked about the signs and symbols, and when we bring the Mystic Garden Party to New York, in Rosendale, as we're talking about.
Great town.
Little,
small.
The farm that we're going to have.
I want to be there.
Yeah, you should.
No, I want to be there.
The farm that we're going to have it on is where we talked about Ram Dass. he used to live there, so did Krishna Das.
Yeah.
And the people that found the place and lived there, they've studied Joseph Campbell, and they further, mythology is a way for people to tune into their path and their toward transcendence.
Okay, right, yeah.
And yeah.
So you're going to have it on a farm, and you're not going to be in town of Rosendale. It's
not exactly. It's a little bit up. It's pretty close to, not far from town. Yeah.
Okay, I know it.
It's called the Center for Symbolic Studies.
Oh, okay. There's something that's been developed since I've been there. I did.
Yeah,
I told
they're
you.
actually having a Joseph Campbell roundtable the weekend of our event.
At that one in Rosendale.
Yeah.
Rosendale's going to
September 18th through 21st.
Okay, Rosendale was a
New
great
York.
place. Ray Bremser lived there. Ginsberg used to come and everything. It's a great place. It's a good part of the world. It's dangerous in the autumn because the trees are so beautiful. I saw a maple tree one time I was driving on the road, and the tree was so perfect with the light fall, I went into a swoon, and the car went right into the meadow because it was so beautiful. It's dangerously gorgeous in the autumn of the year, up there.
Literally.
Anyway, congratulations. I'm rambling off, but I do think you're absolutely on the mark in terms of thinking in terms of not just a little change, a quantitative little change thing, but a huge, this is the time of, like they have in evolution, the idea of punctuated equilibrium, where a system gets to a certain point and then very rapidly, and then a species appears, or a new change. Happened with us 200,000 years ago that created ours. We may be coming into a new relationship to the cosmos, transcendent to what we've been throughout 200,000 years of human existence.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And evolution of consciousness in the universe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll tell you.
Not a small matter.
Not a small matter.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that,
and it's not just all sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
No. That's actually one thing I wanted to hit on. In the 60s, late 60s and early 70s even, it seemed like a lot of the focus was more on the party and like you say, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But now we're more like, we've been growing and going beyond that, and realize, through meditation and a lot of other practices, that we're getting more high on superfoods and yoga and being healthy, and realizing this is what time it is. And so our events, for instance, we don't have a beer garden or anything like that.
You don't? No beer?
No alcohol.
Not in August?
No.
Or not?
No.
How can you have a party without beer?
We just do. We're getting high on the music and the company and the superfoods and a lot of raw foods.
Tell me, what is a superfood? I don't know what a
superfood is. Like things like spirulina and blue-green algae, and there's a variety of things that are coming out right now. Goji berries and cacao and raw food chocolate. And, there's things that really kind of give you a lot of energy without side effects.
Well, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. I know spirulina. I think they could feed the world with spirulina. Yeah. They've had that for quite a long time, and it wasn't only sex and drugs and rock and roll back in the '60s. But think for a minute, because things go exponential, and there was so much that it seems just like yesterday in a way, particularly if you're old, or like if we were there. But there was so much that has been learned since then that we didn't know. So we've learned more, let's say, on the rational side or the scientific side or whatever, that's making it possible. Maybe it'll even get through to the political process. We were fighting an ugly, awful war in Vietnam then that continued. But there was a lot beyond just sex and drugs and rock and roll then, but it was a great party.
Sure.
It was a heck of a party, and there was a lot of good music made.
Oh, yeah. Well, music, that's another thing I have to say about what is happening with Mystic Garden Party events, is the music is it's the most amazing, high vibrational music you'd ever experience. And
Thank you for telling me that.
It's like, to me, it's on par with these bands that were like at Woodstock. I mean, it's not the same groups, but musically, you can go there and have an ecstatic, inspirational experience with it. And I believe that this collection of artists, a lot of them that I've been working with, are like the next level of that. There's...
Well, it's another generation.
It's another generation of it. A lot of you guys have heard of maybe String Cheese Incident. They are... The baton kind of was passed to them in a sense. There's the Grateful Dead.
There's
the Grateful Dead, right?
Yeah.
And then with Jerry Garcia and all that. And then And then Fish was another sort of jam band. P-H-I-S-H.
Yeah.
And then String Cheese Incident is sort of the next.
String Cheese?
String Cheese Incident.
String Cheese
Yeah.
Incident. That's a band?
It's a band.
Okay. And what kind of music is it?
They're sort of, some people call it newgrass, where it's a little bit like bluegrass.
Oh, newgrass. Huh?
Yeah, newgrass. Bluegrass, jam-oriented, fun, positive energy. You know, and they sort of disbanded to a certain degree. They may tour again, but they stopped touring. And now the individual members of String Cheese have formed different projects.
Okay.
And I have 3 of those different projects at
are going to be in the event. Now you got
Ioto and Zilla and Pangea, which on the clip in the beginning of the video clip, it was being interviewed Chris Berry and Michael Kang, and Michael Kang was the mandolin player of String Cheese Incident.
Yeah,
he was the one talking about the Dalai Lama interview where the Dalai Lama was asked, "What does humanity need?"
I remember Chuck Berry,
and Dalai Lama said, "More festivals, more conscious gatherings where people are active."
Yeah, because you've got educational things going on and everything, but I don't understand there's no beer. I mean, it's sort of like somehow it sounds to me something's going amiss in terms of the youthful consciousness because
I mean, it's
particularly if it's in August in New York State. I mean, you know,
September.
Late
September. If somebody brings a beer that they have in their tent or in some low key way, we're not that Nazi about it that we're going to kick them out or anything.
You're not Nazi?
No,
we're good.
We're just not encouraging it because we don't, you know, a lot of us find that we're able to be very high on the experience of life and the music and the dancing and the yoga and everything else that's there. We get high off of that. And we don't need alcohol or substances to have a good time.
I had a meeting with some people the other day, a group. It happens to be our producer. I don't think he had to go, director, but we're in touch with some people. It's called the African Chamber of Commerce in the United States. They had a party, or they had a gathering with people who are entrepreneurs. They want to be in touch with the United States, world business developing out of Africa and everything. And they had a little party and everything. They had a guy there. He was DJ Gaddafi, he called himself. He liked Gaddafi, right? And he had shades. And he was very, very cool. And he was playing music. He was, he had the shade, and he's playing the music, popular music. This is popular music from the continent of Africa. And that music rocked. It was really good. And I mean, it was really, it was really good music. And it's encouraging that their music coming from other parts of the world rather than just coming one way. Like, that's one of the problems with Woodstock. It was all American music practically going out to the world because we had the control over the means of production and distribution. But now world music is coming, and there's different kinds of music coming. Sure. And that's an important component of the current state of things. No?
We've got a lot of world music infused in
What does that mean? That just means from other lands? Or
different parts of the world.
Does it have a particular sound that can be identified?
There's different kinds of sounds, but typically the connotation is it's often rhythmic. A lot of percussion is what a lot of people think of as world music.
Yeah.
But one of our artists, Yusufa Sidibe, plays the African kora. Which
what is that? What's that instrument?
It's kind of a
percussion
huge guitar. No, it's like a guitar-shaped kind of a thing with a big oud kind of thing, and it sounds a little bit like you're playing a harp. It has this really resonant sound, and it's very meditative, and you feel like you're on an astral journey when you're listening to it. Yeah. So there's that, and then there's the Kawali singer, Kawali band. They're like what do you call? They're like Sufi music. The Sufi Kawali.
Sufi, right.
So there's that kind of vibration. Then there's kirtan music, and then there's Pangea is like world music, like Zimbabwe kind of sound, more percussion. You heard them in the beginning also. Samples of that. So we're definitely honoring.
So you're picking up on some of those things. And then there's some things out of ancient times, too. We can pick up on old classics in the best sense of the word when a good sound, a good vibration, a good sound is a good sound.
That's right.
Wherever you get it from, there's a lot of more sources of that. Do you think there's an alteration in consciousness by the people that are attending your events than if you were to look back on that moment of Woodstock and so forth? Because there was something that brought everybody together then. I'm not sure I see that in the youth now.
Oh, if you came
It seems
to this
to
event,
me that there's an awful lot of...
If you come to one of our events...
I'm going to come to... I want to come to that one in September. I already got it in my head. You're going to see me.
Oh, great.
But I think I'm probably going to have one little can of beer stashed somewhere.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Just cold.
Okay. We just keep it low-key because, there's kids, there's families, where mothers feel comfortable with their little kids running around, you know. And,
I like
we
that.
encourage that. And
well, there were kids running all over Woodstock.
Oh, sure.
There were. It was
just,
wonderful.
It's a very healthy, safe environment is part of what
Woodstock
we're
was 600,000 people, and in those days they had drugs and things that the people were using, pot and LSD and all that. And there was 600,000 people there over 3 days. And at the end of the day, one day it got so bad it rained, and there was awful cold, mud, and everything. But there was virtually no violence at all.
Sure.
Pig farm came, and they just manifested food, and it was just everybody was getting off on good vibrations.
Exactly.
And so that was a major thing. Then it wasn't too long after that they had Altmont.
Oh,
Do you remember that? And there was some violence came and everything, right?
Yeah, the Stones.
So, the Stones, or there was Watkins Glen after that. The vibe had changed even after Woodstock to Watkins Glen just a few months after it because it was a moment.
Well, it was a different focus.
Do you think we have a moment
Well, it all
now?
has to do with intention.
Okay.
And the intentionality with the way you do something. I have an intention that it's a transcendental, activating experience. And so the music that I choose, the workshops, presenters, everything that goes into it creates an environment where people can open their hearts and feel activated and supported to shine.
Okay.
And so with all that intentionality going into it, that's the experience that people are able to have.
Okay, we get down some of the nuts and bolts. There was a guy who organized Woodstock. They put it together. Somebody has to put it together because you're going to get a number of people. How many people can you expect to appear? We had 600,000 at Wall Street, at Woodstock. In a big thing, it was, that's a lot of folk.
Right.
How many people do you think you can get? And are you
At the summer one or the fall
Well,
one?
no, let's just say in general. You're organizing these things, so you're an organizer.
Yeah, facilitator,
it's like herding cats.
Producer,
It's like trying to herd cats, particularly if you got creative people. It's really hard to get creative people to jump when you tell them to jump like a drill sergeant, right?
I've worked with a lot of these musicians to where they kind of trust me in a lot of ways. And so when I let them know that they're going to play at this time on Saturday, they know that I'm trying to look for the overall big picture of what's best for everyone.
And you keep it to where, so you have to have some structure.
There's structure.
And everything like that.
We have a program guide so people can know who's playing when and when this workshop is and that. And we put it on the website.
And then you also, it's beyond that, you have workshops.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that. Plus, you have food.
Oh, yeah. There's food booths, everything from stir fry, this and that, to raw food. If someone's a raw foodist, they can feel comfortable getting raw food.
How do you organize that? Do you have? Do you have people to put out bids to have a thing there so that they can get a good business model to get it going? Do you get it organized like a Trump getting it organized to get it all organized, or
well, not exactly like that, but
because Woodstock seemed to be very anarchical. It just happened.
Well,
do you know what I'm saying?
No,
you probably don't want to go that way, but
right. They had some organization, but at a certain point,
it all fell apart.
It was bigger than all of them.
Yeah,
and so I do my best to organize.
Good luck.
But then at the end of the day, though, I really kind of surrender to the moment.
Yeah,
and that's. I was also going to say, to something that you were talking about earlier about the evolution of things, consciousness, that I do feel somehow in touch with, this is sort of I'll get cosmic on you for a moment.
Go get cosmic by all means, yeah.
Is that I really feel like it's part of a movement and it has a spirit of its own. And
right.
I kind of feel like I surrender and I'm sort of, there's a phrase in the Bible, prayer without ceasing.
Okay.
And I feel like I am in this space of kind of meditating and praying about what is the best for this event, and I feel like I get guidance, and I witness a lot of synchronistic unfoldments.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, for instance, all of a sudden, we did the first Mystic Garden Party in summer of 2007.
Okay, that was an event, right? That was the first one
you did?
That was the first one.
Where
was that?
That was in Ashland, Oregon.
That was in Ashland,
So this
Oregon.
is our third annual
you
Ashland,
hanging out in Oregon?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
Portland's
then-
a
and
nice town?
It's a nice town.
Yeah, okay,
Ashland's about 5.5 hours south. It's just
South.
it's the first
Down toward
town.
Eugene?
It's south of Eugene, about
South
3.5.
of Eugene.
It's the first town when you cross the California border up into Oregon. It's
Oh,
the
right.
first town.
Okay, yeah.
It's where the
Polk-
Shakespeare fests happen.
Okay,
and all
right.
that.
Okay. Oregon's a beautiful state.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful place. But
Yeah.
anyway, what I was sort of getting at is that, you know, we did our first one back then in 2007, and then I got the hit to do Maui, Hawaii, and so now 2 years in a row, in the winter, in January, February, we've done Hawaii Mystic Garden, and now all of a sudden
You
we're
called
just-
it Mystic Garden
Mystic Garden Party.
in Oregon?
in Oregon,
How'd you
Hawaii.
get the name Mystic Garden? Did it come in a moment or what?
It just came in the moment.
Where
I knew it was
were you?
gonna
Can
be-
you remember the
I was
moment?
driving.
There you go. You got it.
from like from Portland to Ashland with my friend.
Yeah.
And I knew it was Mystic Garden something, and I could have been Mystic Garden Frolic or Mystic Garden Jamboree. I was like, no, that's not it. When Mystic Garden Party came,
Not Mystic Garden Freak Out.
No.
No. Okay, right. No.
it just
Mr.
felt
Mystic
felt
Garden
alchemically.
Minuet? No.
It just felt alchemically balanced.
Yeah. Right.
Because the word party can draw some more of the sort of the Burning Man crowd, and
Yeah.
it's fun. And Mystic
Yeah.
Garden holds the resonance
Right.
of, you know, like the Garden of Eden that we want to experience.
Well, yeah. Okay.
We're creating a space
Yeah.
for that.
I think that's in keeping because it's like it's like a new beginning.
Yeah, like the phrase
You-
in that
you
song,
sense
we
that.
got to get ourselves back to the garden.
Oh, yeah, right.
So getting back to the synchronistic,
Who was that? I don't remember.
Joni Mitchell.
It was
and
Joni Mitchell.
Crosby,
was
Stills,
it?
and
Was
Nash
it? Okay,
did it.
yeah, Crosby, Stills. Yeah,
But
they had great talent then. Maybe
it was
it's just
amazing.
a thing of the time. See, I don't. I'm old, right? Older than, and I don't understand. You have this hip hop thing, and you got gangster rap, and you got. You know, I don't understand the vibe as much.
Well, there's all kinds
now.
of diversity of music and just expressions of the divine and inspiration that can touch people and activate people.
That's always been
It comes
there,
in
I
a lot
guess,
of
right?
different forms.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I was kind of getting at is that the evolution of the manifestation of these Mystic Garden events
Yeah.
is happening very quickly. We started our first one in 2007.
2007.
And
That's
then in
just
the winter
recently.
we've done our Hawaii events, and now coming
You
up
go to Hawaii.
in 2010.
Right.
Not only well, first of all, later this year, not only are we going to do the New York one in the fall,
Right.
but in next year, after we do our third annual Maui and then Big Island, we're looking to do Australia and then Japan.
Okay.
And synchronistically enough,
Uh-huh.
now I have Chris Decker, who works with, he's the founder and producer of the Earth Dance
Okay.
Festival, which is
Okay.
the largest globally synchronized festival for peace.
What does that mean, globally synchronized?
It means
You're
that on
connected
one-
by
on one day-
transponder communications. and
Well,
so on? Or what?
They organize their events on the same day. So, for instance, this
I
year
see.
on September 26th,
In various locations.
in 350 locations,
No kidding,
in over
right.
65 countries.
Has that been pulled off already?
Every
No.
year?
Oh, it's
every
still
year,
going, like Burning Man.
They do it every year, and
Yeah.
in 360 locations over 65 countries,
Uh-huh.
they're having some kind of an event
Yeah.
synchronized on the same day, and they even have like a 1 minute for peace, and they play this song.
Same
and
time, same
people
minute
pray
all
for
over the
peace
planet?
in the same minute
The
all
same
over the
minute.
planet. The
That's
same
good.
minute.
You can get
Yeah.
it together now. You
So
couldn't have done
now
that.
Chris has come on board and working with me
Okay.
for this summer event.
You're
and
linking up with some of
I'm
the other
linking up
people who've
with
been
them.
doing those kind of things.
Exactly.
Right?
So
Right.
now the Earth Dance Network is being invited to do this globally synchronized event with us.
Right.
And Chris is from Australia, so he's
Right.
helping me do the Australia Mystic Garden Party in March of 2010.
Okay.
So while I'm working on that and thinking about that first week in March, I
Right.
get an email from Dr. Moto's son.
Right, in
And
Japan.
in Japan,
Yeah.
he's telling me they're working on an event in Japan 2 weeks after we're doing our Australia Mystic Garden.
Right.
And I was thinking of taking it to Japan.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, he's asking me if I have connections with the UN World Water Day because
Right. I see that on
they're
your
having
brochure,
their
yeah.
event
Yeah.
based around the World Water Day that's March 22nd.
Right.
So now, all of a sudden, I said, well, we could take some of our musicians from Australia to come to Japan after that. And he goes,
Yeah.
yes, it'd be great. And so now, synchronistically, this is sort of unfolding. I get it.
Synchronicity. Let me hear your song. Yes,
Yeah, I
that's
get
wonderful.
the inspiration
yeah,
for
yeah,
it,
yeah, I
and then
understand.
I see it sort of manifesting, and sometimes I feel like I'm not trying to push the river. I'm witnessing it, and
Siddhartha.
it's happening magically. I'm watching it.
Yeah, that's really good, and it's an awful lot of work putting all that together.
I couldn't do
it. You're
myself.
the CEO.
I'm not that talented.
No, but you're the one who's putting this together.
Well, I like to say I'm.
Are you a team worker?
I have people work with me.
Yeah,
I like to say I'm a co-producer, and Spirit is the executive producer. Great Spirit.
The synergy,
The
of
synergy
it all.
of it
Yeah,
all.
but it is good and it's working. And you say you're going to 2010. I even see you made 2012. But we have a couple years to go before we get to that.
Yeah, in 2012,
by
the way.
Now, when's your next event?
The next event is the one in July.
The one in July in where?
July 23rd through 26th. That's in Ashland, Oregon.
Ashland, Oregon.
And it's also around the world. If people on July 25th, that's the day that in the Mayan calendar, in the 13-moon calendar, they call the Day Out of Time. And so people are gathering around the world on that day.
I thought it was 2012.
Well, they have predictions around the 2012, but every year in that calendar, the July 24th is the last day of the year. July 26th is the first day of the year. On their calendar. July 25th is the day out of time.
I see.
And so they have that day reserved for celebration of life and focus on compassion and universal forgiveness.
So some of us are picking up on that tradition.
Yeah, some of us are. And there are celebrations around the world that already happen.
How many of these events, say, out of space, out of time, days, like you could get every day probably something in some tradition.
There's different things happening.
We could have an event. How many events like the ones you're doing? It must be a major thing. You have to put it together, organize, a lot of work, getting a lot of coordination and everything. How many of these kind of events, these festivals, you call them mystic, but there's others that would be doing. Is that going on a lot now? Is that happening where you're having these festivals?
Synchronized?
Yeah, no, not synchronized necessarily, but they're happening maybe spontaneously, just in the air. There's people doing it like what you're doing. Are you in touch? Is there an association of Mystic Festival production managers around the world to get together somewhere and get synchronized in terms of everything that's going on?
Well, we're working on it. We're creating a global events network to be in touch with other producers around the world.
Are there many of them, and are you a community? Do you get together? Are you on each other's cell phones and that kind of stuff, or not? Or is it
there's
getting
various
it together?
kinds of communication that happen with that. Yeah, and we're inviting them like Earth Dance is one of the networks that have 350 locations in 65 countries. So they're inviting their network to participate, and then there's the Day at a Time celebrations. And then Dr. Moto has a network around the world. He's calling on that day Love and Thanks to the Water Day, which is why we're having the Global Water Blessing on that day.
And that ties into the UN?
And that ties into the UN in the sense that we're supporting the UN Water for Life campaign, which is a decade to try to raise awareness about the plight of fresh water and how we need to better steward it and take care of it.
Right.
We want to raise funds for a nonprofit organization that builds wells. There's 1 billion people in the world that don't have safe, clean drinking water.
It's a shame.
It's 1 out of every 6. It's a total shame.
Horrible. Yeah. So there's a lot of good. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and you're encouraging generally that. And you're ecologically sound, and you're thinking in terms of the ecology and the larger issues. And is there a unifying thing around that, around ecology and sustainability? Is becoming a very important word now. Yeah. Do you think that the sustainability is that with the human expression has been just to use an overworked term, too greedy? And that greed has run rampant in a way, and we should be more restrained? Not so much.
I think there's been a lot of
raping the planet, that kind of thing.
I think
there's been a lot of rejection against that.
Absolutely,
among youth. You're young, so it's a young.
I'm maybe a little older than
you're a little older than young, but you're still young. And so, but I'm saying that ecological vibe or whatever it is manifesting within, particularly the younger consciousness.
Well, because people are realizing what kind of a world are we going to inherit? There's less than 1% of old-growth forests left, and
when they cut down those original forests, it's a sin.
Yeah,
those great sequoias and stuff. Yeah. I think it's a sin to make some deck for a yuppie something or other. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And they're reacting against that.
Well, we're realizing
narcissism that's been so in the
I guess there's a short-sightedness, and we're kind of saying, let's wake up and let's think of not just ourselves, but our children's inheritance, our grandchildren's 7 generations.
Yeah.
You know, because they deserve to inherit a beautiful world too. Like Chief Seattle's quote is, "It's not our world. We're borrowing it from our grandkids."
That's a good one. Yeah, well, that's true.
Borrowing it from our children's
Republicans are coming on with that now. The hardcore Republicans are saying these overdone Obama bills. Yeah, the neocons say you got to take care of the grandchildren and keep all those capital assets in our hands. Yeah. But I mean, there's a political thing. Encouraged at all, do you think, Obama? The fact that Obama's been made a president, he is inspirational to the world.
Yeah.
And that's helping in terms of what you've been doing.
To see that we would transcend and we, you know.
Or something new.
Something new, and to elect the first African American president. It's a really big thing, you know. I mean, I was disappointed. I don't like to talk about politics that much. But,
I know, because a lot of people,
when we elected George Bush for a second term, I was like, how could we do that?
How did you manage to get through all that?
By doing events like this, so I don't feel so powerless because I'm around inspiration, conscious conversation, and people that care, and it gives me hope for humanity when I see that some of us can gather in a way that is kind, compassionate, loving, inspirational. The spirit of freedom is ringing together. And even if the numbers are as small as they are, just
but
to know
growing.
They're
growing
they
now.
are.
I mean, I think it's like, I sense that also. I really think there's a hopeful thing growing. And he's not only in Talking Change, but he is what my daddy would have called a class act. Yeah. It's nice to have somebody who can make a sensible declarative sentence.
Yes.
You know, it's called intelligence.
Intelligence.
It's nice to have somebody intelligence and over our intelligence agency to a degree. He may have to have a little changes, and some of your festivals might be able to put some new ideas into that realm that gets the politics right and everything, and we may be able to negotiate this transformation from the destructive capability that's so imbued our political leadership and business leadership to one where it's going to be able to focus on the kind of thing you're talking about. Let's make it well for everybody, and let's make it sustainable, and you're helping to create that. So I congratulate you and all of your many colleagues around the world that are tuning in on that vibe, as they used to say. And all the very best in working.
I still say that.
I want to get on your list so you keep me informed of everything. And I'm really happy to have been able to talk to you about this, and I wish you all the very best as you go out and do all your good work. I think it's wonderful. I don't know about no beer, but that's a thing that maybe we'll have to talk over in another thing or something. But
talk about it over a beer.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, man.
Thank you.
And all the very, very best. Welcome to New York. I'm glad I caught you. You're just coming through on your busy schedule. Keep up all the good work, and let me get on your list. Do you have a list? Do
actually,
you keep people up to date with what you're doing?
The easy way to get on the list is to go to mysticgardenparty.com, and there's a little link there that says to join our email list, and you just join it, and then you'll get updates. And the other site that I'd like to encourage people to check out if they want to get on the Global Events Network and tune into global events, whether we initiate it or not, we want to help support.
You're talking to others. You're linking to others too. Okay, that's
exactly.
Isn't it wonderful? The internet. And so that's the other one.
So that's Global Events Network.
And you can click to be on an email there too.
You can get on that list as well, and you can register if you want to participate in the Global Water Blessing wherever you are, whether you're in New York or in Africa or Europe. You can register that you want to watch the webcast live from our event in Ashland and watch other water blessings around the world, or even do your own.
How many are on the list?
Blessing.
On those lists, do you have any idea how many people you got on your list
to do the water blessing?
No, that I was thinking about the other two where they're keeping
the
up to date.
Mystic Garden Party. Right now, it's
hundreds or thousands or what?
We're very soon going to be up to thousands.
Okay.
We haven't really worked to build our list that much. But
it's going exponential.
But
like everything
it's going
else.
exponential. Like last year when we did our summer festival, we had about 200,000 hits in 1 month.
Wow. That's
real.
That's what Ev Dirksen would have called real numbers.
Real numbers.
You don't remember Ev Dirksen, but he used to be a character out of politics of the 50s. Anyway, thanks a lot for coming. I'm really glad we could put it together on such short notice. Wish you all the very best.
Sure.
I'm going to be on your list by tonight.
Great.
And I don't know, I could put you on mine if you want.
Please do.
You'll be getting messages from me from now until the end of time.
Very good.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks a lot for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Southern California's best.
Actually, Oregon. I was born in Southern Cal, but I live in Portland, Oregon now.
So you think of yourself as an Oregonian or a Californian?
Oregonian.
Oregonian, yeah. Oregon is a great. Your pleasure to have his perception. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate
Thank
you
you.
coming in,
It's
and
good
we
to be
invite
here.
you to tune in. We're coming back again next week.
All right.
Okay, that's the end of the program, and there's not
Great.
going on tape, so there's no point in talking.
Okay.
If you're not putting it on tape, there's no point in doing it, even, you know. Okay, so.
No, that was good. That was